Hi everyone, so my name is Benjamin. I'm one of your moderators for today.
Hi, I'm Dea Hoxha. I'm the news editor of The Torch, and I'm another moderator today.
Yes, so we're really excited to have everyone here today. We're excited to have our crowd here. We're excited to see what you guys have to offer the St. John's campus. And to start, so the way it's going to go, we're going to ask some general questions to both the parties, and you guys are going to answer based on how you want to for your team. And we're going to start off by opening statements, which are traditionally done by two people running for president. So we're going to leave that up to you. You're going to have 2 minutes to have your opening statement, and then we're going to get into our questioning. Yes.
We can start with, thank you. Do I take the podium or just like doing it?
Wherever you feel comfortable.
Okay, perfect. Pick the college that feels like home to you. Were the words my college counselor said to me in high school while I was struggling to choose which college to attend. At that moment, only one school came to mind, and that was St. John's University. At the age of 18, it was only my second year in the United States of America. Upon immigrating from Bangladesh, I was enrolled into a New York City public school with incredibly low funding. We did not have many resources in our school, however, we had a St. John's sanctioned program referred to as GERA, which not only provided tutoring help, but also assisted with college applications. The GERA program is predominantly the reason as to why I am standing before you today. Additionally, I was very fortunate to have received a generous scholarship from this university, which allowed me to pursue a college education in addition to providing me with an amazing community of students. This community not only helped me further my career and education, but also helped me assimilate to a brand new environment. I'm eternally indebted to this university for all that it has done for me. In addition to starting my own organization, the Constitutional Law Society, I got involved in the Student Government Incorporated in order to serve the student body, which has served me on a much higher level. I wanted to give back to the community that, unbeknownst to themselves, never stopped giving. After serving a full term as a senator, I was elected as the Speaker of the Senate, which has given me the opportunity to lead the Senate and directly advocate for the student body to the administration. Upon witnessing the capabilities and immense potential that the student government possesses, I decided to run for president of the Student Government Incorporated. Today, I am here with my incredible ticket members, who are student leaders involved in a plethora of organizations. I have compiled a team of student leaders that can truly represent the different needs of St. John's diverse student body. Each either belonging to the SGi, small organizations, programming boards, and even the student ambassadors. All members of my ticket have cultivated a diverse set of skills during their time as student leaders. I will now give them the opportunity to introduce themselves.
My name is Sana Faruqi, and I'm the Vice Presidential candidate for the Crush ticket. I'm a student of St. John's College. I'm a junior English major with minors in Government, Politics, and Philosophy. And I'm the Vice President of the St. John's Constitutional Law Society, as well as being a co-founder of it. I'm also a junior senator in student government, and I'm also the chair of governmental affairs for student government.
What's up, guys? My name is Paul Gaylor. I'm a sophomore senator here at St. John's. I dorm at Century. I'm not going to give you my room, that'll be a little weird, so no one has to figure it out. I'm a student ambassador here, and I am a business major in SGi, and besides that, I've worked 2 jobs, one at an immigration law firm, head coach in a soccer club, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
I don't know how I'm going to be able to top that, but hi, my name is Jenny Bosilla. I am a junior marketing major at the PRJ Tobin College of Business. I'm part of the 5-year fast track program, where I will be receiving my master's degree in business analytics. A little bit about my involvement on campus is I am the president of a business organization called Women on Wall Street. I'm the vice president-elect for the Student Ambassador Program, as well as serving as the secretary of the Student Government Incorporated Budget Committee.
Hi everyone, my name is Dea Bayha. I am a junior chemistry and global development and sustainability double major. I am running for the press secretary. I'm running as the press secretary candidate for the Crush ticket. My involvement on campus involves being a resident assistant in the Henning complex. I'm also the president of the African Students Association, the social media chair for the Havaya Pan-African Students Coalition. I am an office worker with campus activities, and I am a mentor for Project Aims.
Hi everyone, they say the best for last. So my name is Samantha. I'm a third year English major here at St. John's. I'm running for the senior programming coordinator on the Crush ticket. A few things that I do on campus. I was the elections chair last semester in student government, and I'm also a student ambassador. Above that, I serve as a social media and special events coordinator in the program. Next academic year, I will be happily serving as the president for the program, working with the admissions team. Also, I'm an Epic Peer Mentor. I've worked in the Alumni Engagement Center, and I've also served as the SGi Debate peer mentor / mentor and tutor in the St. John's Hall basement. I'm an Epic Peer Mentor, so I have 3 mentees this semester. I'm excited to serve you guys.
As evidenced by everybody's introductions, including my own, you can see that we have different perspectives on different kinds of student experiences on campus, and we are incredibly excited for you to have a bigger insight on what we have to offer for the next academic year. Thank you.
Do I have to stand first or can I just sit?
Whatever goes on.
Hey guys, hello everyone. My name is Claudia and I'm currently a sophomore, double majoring in government and journalism. And I am a part of many clubs and organizations on campus. I'm also a transfer student. Originally I came from Fordham University and then I transferred to St. John's during my spring semester of freshman year. I had 2 jobs in the Office of Student Involvement, and now I currently work in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. I've been a senator at Fordham, and I'm also a senator here at St. John's. I'm also the committee chair, recently appointed committee chair of the NSLS National Society of Leadership and Success. I'm also a peer mentor, and I'm running for press secretary.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Nina Allen, and I am running for president on the Revive ticket. I'm a rising senior studying management and will be receiving my MBA in business analytics. St. John's is a place that I like to call home, and it's quite clear in all that I'm involved in. Currently, I am a member of the Thomas J. Cox Honors Program, NSLS, a student ambassador in training, the secretary of Women on Wall Street, and the vice president of our newly founded Club Women's Baseball team. I'm also participating in a research project studying how word of mouth influences consumer behavior. I have previously won an award for Best Paper in Conference for my research abilities. In regards to student government, I was a freshman senator and advocated tirelessly on behalf of my fellow first-year students in the College of St. John's. I have had various work experiences. Currently, I hold 2 jobs, one where you can find me working on campus as a member of the athletic events staff, and the other as a VIP staff associate at the Forest Hills Stadium. In addition to these jobs that I've held for over a year, I had a 9-month internship with Alliant Insurance Services as a retirement funds intern. Before I get into my agenda, I would like to have a moment for the rest of my ticket to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Shannon Bosraj. I'm currently running for Vice President of Student Government. I'm currently a junior. I am part of the MBA program, the Fast Track program, to receive my management degree with a concentration in business analytics. Things that I do on campus is I'm currently the Student Affairs Chair for Student Government. I'm training to be a Student Orientation Leader and part of the EIRP program, and I'm an RSM. So if you live in the dorms, you've seen me.
Hi everyone, my name is Christy Forno. I'm a 3rd-year finance major and I'm running as treasurer on the Revive ticket. So some of the things that I do on campus is I am a RISE mentor. I am also currently president of the National Association for Black Accountants, and I also serve as secretary of Haitian Society. On top of that, I am a fellow under the Applied Finance Institute in Tobin, and I work in resident safety as assistant to the resident coordinator, and I'm really excited to be running.
My name is Emily Hernandez. I am a finance junior minoring in business analytics. Some things I'm involved in on campus is I am an orientation leader, helping transition our new fellow Johnnies. I'm also the treasurer of Women on Wall Street. I'm also part of Student Support Services, and finally I'm also a fellow of Applied Finance Institute.
Hi everyone, I'm Palak and I'm a junior currently pursuing my business analytics major along with a double minor in eco and international management. As an international student from India, I have always been involved on campus, even when things were online. I've been a part of SGi for freshman year and sophomore year and was an active student member at the university events department and the alumni relations department. I am a peer mentor with the Project AIM, the mentoring program for all the international students on campus, and as a potential candidate for the senior programming coordinator as a Revive Ticket member, I intend to increase the student involvement on campus and reduce the gap between them and the resources available on campus for them to succeed.
Thank you. We as a ticket are looking to revive the spirit of St. John's. We have several ideas of how we'd like to accomplish this. Firstly, we would like to open an on-campus bar and a pop-up forum for students over the age of 21 to network and connect with alumni. This will be especially helpful on game days. We also are looking to increase service opportunities, as it should be embedded in everything that we do here, being a Vincentian University. We look to do this through creating a food pantry that will provide food to those of our students who live with food insecurity. And this will help create a community among our St. John's students. Thank you.
We're going to jump right into the questions that we have for you guys today. And a big thing we want you to remember is that you are allowed to rebut. So it will, whoever starts, the next person can rebut and you guys can. So the first question that we have for you today, and depending on however you guys want to run it, that you can answer. We're just going to start this. We're going to actually flip the order. We're going to start with junior vibe and go down. So the first question would be, a common question that St. John's students have is, what exactly does SGi do? How would you, to the best of your ability, explain the role and need for SGi on campus?
So we really want to help increase social engagement between student government and the student body. So one of the things that we wanted, one of our initiatives that we plan is have SGi plan 2 initiatives per month for next year. Whether it's like giving out cookies or having like little mini events, we can really like communicate and really have students get to know who we are as SGi.
We would like to be a resource for students here on campus. I believe student government needs to represent the people and its community. I truly believe that student government is here for the students and by the students. I believe that student government needs to enact a positive change and help as many students as it can, and it also wants to implement many changes and positive feedback and events in order to improve the community. And I think it also wants to foster and inspire leadership in other people, whether it's freshmen or whether you're a senior in the last minute and you want to do something and create a lasting mark on the John Lewis community. I think SGi is the perfect place to be.
So student government in our university is actually multifaceted. We have an executive branch and we also have a legislative branch. So just to hit the executive branch part a little bit, not only do we have initiatives through the executive branch, for example, Grammarly, Wheels and such, we also have a lot of meetings with administration, for example, in order to advocate what we hear from the student body surrounding us or from the legislative branch directly to administration. Apart from that, we also have executive committees that take their own initiatives. For example, the Flow Committee is rather popular because we brought free menstrual products for students, which actually we have diversified recently, so that's exciting. Apart from that, we also work as a bank, so we tend to provide the budget and all the money for all the organizations and such. We also partner up with the programming boards a lot, for example, Mariah, RSA, SPB, so we're always in collaboration with them. We also have a very big role in terms of planning Circle Out or Winter Carnival, so we definitely have a collaborative role in terms of those things. And as for the legislative branch, we actually have 40 senators, and the leadership is essentially the Speaker of the Senate, which is me currently. We have the Vice President and the Secretary that actually lead the meetings. And it's essentially regarding, we have we actually have 2 senators per year for each college, and if we have any vacancies due to students' schedules and whatnot, then we like to appoint senators at large. They tend to write bills in order to create different initiatives to improve the student body experience. For example, my vice president, Sana, she actually wrote a bill to increase accessibility in order to aid students with disability. Apart from that, Paul over here has actually written so many bills on food. His bill has brought back Taco Bell. He is working on diversifying food at Monty's. He is currently working on bringing halal food on campus, and my job is to kind of mediate those meetings and ensure that they're materialized with the administration. So that's a little bit about what both of the branches do, and it is all in an effort to create more communication between the administration and the student body alongside representative programs.
Thank you. Most resolutions from the Student Senate result in creating a dialogue between the executive board and the university. How would you ensure that these resolutions are enacted and enacted within an appropriate timeframe?
As the president. So that is essentially something that the Speaker of the Senate works very closely with the legislative branch in order to do. For example, there are a lot of bills that get passed, and so there's 5 bills getting passed each week. Within that week, the Speaker of the Senate is supposed to reach out to the appropriate person of contact in order to ensure that those initiatives are getting done. That's something that I do. Sometimes I stay on campus from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. just like doing all of that. I believe that my job as president would be to ensure that the legislative branch, that the senators are actually confident enough to run for speaker so that I can ensure that someone who can actually do the work can get elected as that. And of course, I would be providing them with all the support as someone who has experience in that term. So, yeah.
I agree with Notion. Notion does like a lot of great stuff as speaker. She really does push us to enact change and promote our bills, and she helps us with our ideas and supports us all the way. And I also do believe that we do have a lot of initiatives on campus. As senators, it is our goal to keep on making Johnson even better. And between the student body and like the student class, I believe it would be essential to increase the transparency within the student government, as well as improve our social media platforms, including like Instagram and TikTok, in order to reach a diverse array of students, in order to make sure that students are able to know what is going on campus, because a lot of my friends don't know necessarily what is going on at what hour. And I would also try to improve transparency within the student government, because there's a lot of initiatives that people don't know about, and which would involve regular communication with the student body regarding the decisions made and Student Government Inc., as well as explaining the rationale behind these decisions and the impact that they have on the student body. And we currently are doing that because we are sending newsletters about what change the Senate is implementing.
As members of the Revive ticket, we are willing to put the time and effort in to serve our students. We want to better the student experience, and it's all about communicating resources that students don't know that already exist, and we want to build better relationships on the students' behalf with administrators and Father Shanley.
Thank you. So, as we said before, there's no particular order to the way in which we're going to ask the question. So we're going to pivot a little bit. A common complaint from smaller organizations across campus is that there's a lack of resources and accessibility when it comes to funding for the organizations, which result in a hindrance when it comes to programming. This is specifically for the treasurers. Since you both are members of smaller cultural organizations on campus, such as LASO and Haitian Society, what firsthand experience would qualify you to decide on the allocated budget for such organizations? So we're going to start with you.
So, as a member of both of the orgs that I'm in are considered small orgs. One thing that I can say is that students need more, not resource, besides training on how to do budget requests, different things like that. So one thing that we want to do is create videos that they can look back on to ensure that they have a resource that's readily available to them, because students don't necessarily enjoy a website or a newsletter format. And one thing that we also want to push is that we want to change the way the budget is constructed so that instead of there being majority of the money in special allocations, we kind of, instead of $100, they can start with maybe $200 so that they don't constantly have to go to the special allocations board and budget committee to ask for money when the money is already in their accounts.
First off, I would like to say, LASSO, I'm not an official member. I haven't gone to a meeting all year. So in general, though, I like to publicize special allocations in general. That is a concept that I've been thinking about. Also, with the chief of staff now gone, there's money that could be allocated towards these specific allocations that I'm talking about. So instead of talking about like just grabbing money out of nothing, there's how money that we can put towards special allocations.
Hey, I have a question. Where would you get this money from?
Well, the chief of staff no longer exists, so the money from that would pay for the chief of staff. We could reallocate it somewhere else. So that's where I get my money. Where would you get the money?
We're not necessarily drawing money from anything. We're changing the way the budget is constructed so that necessarily there isn't money put automatically into budget special allocations. The money goes directly into the student board accounts.
How do you go within?
That's it, there.
That's where it stops. No worries.
Again, anybody within your executive can answer this question. With the influx of students expected following the closure of the Staten Island campus, how do you plan on increasing involvement on campus with new students? With the influx of students expected following the closure of the Staten Island campus, how do you plan to improve involvement on campus with new students?
Thank you for that. So, especially with the movement of the Staten Island campus closing, we actually plan on establishing the Staten Island Wellness Committee to ensure representation from the Staten Island students. Obviously, this is going to be a marginalized group that will feel isolated, so providing them with this sort of resource is definitely going to aid their transition to be more smooth. This committee will basically focus on addressing all the needs of the Staten Island students. It could be organizing mixer events to help them incorporate better into the student body. It could be publicizing metro parts to make their commute easier. These are all initiatives that I plan on incorporating into the Staten Island campus into the Staten Island committee as vice president.
So can I just add into that a little bit? So the university actually is going to be establishing a Staten Island academic task force. So they are going to be doing a lot of initiatives as well. So we would like to aid them as well in their programming. And we of course want to increase programming for them as well. But it will be a collaborative situation. And as student government, we would just like to ensure that everyone's covered in terms of from the side of the student government, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with Sana and Nasha. I think they're implementing wonderful initiatives in order to make everyone feel included, because I understand that the Staten Island campus didn't have a lot of people. So obviously they might feel isolated, lonely, or excluded. So I truly believe that having like a place for them where they could like talk and like meet up and like bond together would be great. As press secretary, I would just really try my best to increase social media aspect of it, like try to just like promote different events in which that they could attend, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, just increasing media presence in general.
So as a orientation leader, we help transition our incoming St. John's students into St. John's, and we as Revive want to create a type of resource or type of program where Staten Island students can also have the same type of experience as like kind of have an orientation for them in order for them to transition really easily into St. John's. Just making sure that we're promoting any resources available for them and keeping them also part of our community and introducing them to what we do here in Queens campus, introducing them to any clubs by advertising our clubs on TV screens, and yeah.
Could I ask a clarification question? So we're only allowed to move out once?
Yeah. No, not once in the entire debate. So the next question will be asked, how will your ticket for SGi plan on addressing situations of racial and gender advise on campus.
So something that I really want to do, especially for the Senate, is mandatory diversity and equity training. That's something I've generally been looking forward to because as we're going along, the Senate is kind of becoming more powerful and it is increasing in size as well. So I feel like it's very important to create that sort of solidarity within the Senate first. Apart from that, we also have, I apologize, I lost my train of thought. But yes, so that is some, like, one of the ways in which we're going to promote.
One of the initiatives I would want to do in order to diversify our campus is in order to implement the LGBTQ people of color and like racial minorities in general, ethnic minorities in general, and implement them into our core curriculum, whether it's through like implementing like different individual school of thought, because I feel like in our philosophy classes or English classes we predominantly just focus on like Aristotle, Socrates, like all these like well-known, and I feel like all these other philosophers that are queer and part of the minority groups, LGBTQ, and other groups that aren't as dominant are not represented as much. So I just try to implement them within our curriculum as much as I can in order to make them feel represented and for students to learn about them.
So, as a very diverse ticket, we're really like, what's the word? I can't think. Passionate about this. And one way that we want to do this is kind of give students a way that when they feel unsafe, they can report that. So for instance, that can be in the format of having a form open, like a simple Google form, where if they are ever treated unfairly, they can go into the form, talk about the instance where it happened, they can kind of like report the person, and we will then, in that case, bring the person in, talk to them. It will be mandatory to have a discussion. And I think also in classes, getting people to acknowledge, getting people to acknowledge the differences, and if they overhear their like fellow classmates talking about anything, to of course bring that to SGi. And this is a part of us bridging like the connection between SGi and students so that they feel safe and they feel comfortable coming to us with any issues that there may be on campus. And we also want to bring that to teachers so that teachers are comfortable talking about this because it's an important topic and we're a very diverse ticket. That very diverse school, and I feel like it needs to be addressed. So teachers need to be made aware that they need to act when students talk about these things to them, and administration.
I also believe that as a mentor of the Project AIM, which is a part of the Office of Multicultural Affairs, we basically host events which are supposed to be very diverse and involve students from all the cultures of the university. But those events, the attendance that we see in those events are basically the members who are already a part of that program and no new members. So as a new initiative for the upcoming year, I do have that in mind, and I'm willing to partner with the Office of Multicultural Affairs to make sure that even people who are citizens of United States but have a different family background of a different culture, they can proudly be a part of that and feel more like home as Asians.
So, in regards to the form, the Google form that you suggested, I think that there are already systems in place to highlight diversity, equity, and inclusion. OMA, especially the Office of Multicultural Affairs, they have designated programs for they have designated programs as student equity workshops that allow people to talk about these situations, because all RAs receive that training too. You have student equity workshops for Safe Zone, and then the diversity peer education that ranges from topics from sexual assaults, Title IX, and bias. Instead of taking on the responsibility as student government, it would be better to amplify and make the students aware that these resources already exist, because they're more equipped to handle such situations. As well as that, and in regards to other resources, you have the Title IX office, and as well, and you have administration that deal with Title IX and bias incidents already. So once again, I feel like this situation, you just have to amplify the resources and direct the students to the professionals that are able to better deal with it.
My answer to that is I know from firsthand experience that students don't feel comfortable necessarily talking to administrators. So that's why we would rather do the form where they can come and talk to us, and then it would be, we can have like one person to do it. And like I've seen it I work in public safety, when we have someone who handles that, just because he's there doesn't mean people use him. Where I feel like if it were students who are running it, they would be more comfortable, and I also feel like commuters don't necessarily know about the different things that the school has to offer. Whereas if we as SGi bridge that gap with them, we're making ourselves known on campus, and we let them know, like, post flyers that this form is available. Whenever they even overhear something, they don't necessarily have to go through public safety, through the dean of the school. They can kind of just reach out to us privately. That is like building trust.
Yes. Currently, what is the university's biggest issue, according to you guys, that you plan to take action on as soon as possible?
I think it's regarding food insecurity. That's like one of the main issues on campus. That's almost always overlooked. That is something that we are currently working on. So I'm actually working with the administration currently in order to establish an SGi Shares app, where essentially donors will be able to purchase block meal plans in order to donate. This will be open to alumni, students who want to donate, or like members from the external community. So that is something that I'm definitely very excited about being launched. Apart from that, I think Paul could speak more about food options because he has been working on it for a very long time.
Yeah, so I don't know why, but my best ideas come when it's I'm hungry and it's food. So I'll talk about a little bit how I got Taco Bell back. You know, as in general, my first step was to contact Nelson about the bill, and Ethan also helped in the long run. But I talked to admin, and you gotta talk to people that can make it done. And I think that's the best way to do it. You gotta talk to the people that can get it done. So through admin, I wrote a bill stating that, you know, DAC used to be lively and popular DAC. And so I wrote a bill for any food. I didn't really necessarily pick, I wanted Chipotle at first because I love Chipotle. But at the end of the day, we hindered down to Taco Bell, which now is doing great and is actually in the works still of opening other stuff in DAC slowly to see if it's still like successful and people still want it. And on top of it, now at Marillac, to like kind of speed things up, I had an idea where Piccola Italia, not a lot of people go to it off the eyesight. So I brought it up at a meeting with Chartwells, and they also saw by like your research that they did that it is the lowest, like they bring in the least amount of money. So I said, what is there to lose? Like, try halal food. I know a lot of people come up to me like, you know, halal food is great, and I actually tried it and I love it. I tried it for the first time like last week, so it's actually pretty good. But yeah, and he agreed that, you know, like that's a good idea because we don't have to spend money on workers, hiring workers. We use the same people that work at Piccola Italia, and you know, it's gonna be booming. So I got it passed. Still working on it, but he said I don't want to guarantee anything from him, but he was on board with it, and we're taking those steps. On top of it, since the diner closed, I know that was a big loss, especially like seniors know it, and I haven't experienced it. And late night Monty's took its place in the diner. So when you go to late night Monty's, I don't know how many people are dormers here, but it's kind of like the same food every night. Yeah. So like I was like there has to be something done because we lost something like as much as a diner and all that. So I'm working on a bill right now to get more more options on Monty's at late night, and it's you know, we're doing little by little, but we're getting it done. So next week I'm presenting it, and hopefully that gets done too. But Scott was also on board with that. But that's how you get things done. You talk to admin. It's not just an idea, and that's what I do. I get things done. It's my first year center.
To add on to that, another thing that I think our student government could personally improve on is that ensure more representation for the diverse community in St. John's University. university. That is why we're doing the non-traditional students committee, where we would be essentially increasing programming for international students, transfer students, students who are not necessarily within the college age, etc. Apart from that, we also will have ad hoc committees underneath it. For example, the LGBTQ plus community for students who would like to advocate for themselves through the student government. It would kind of aid what Spectrum already does, so that's something that I'm really excited about. Apart from that, we already spoke about the Staten Island Wellness Committee, also more for the international students so that they can experience New York a little bit better. Aside from that, something that I am personally very proud of is the Disability Services Committee, which is something that I think is long overdue, just so that students with disabilities can advocate for themselves again through the student government. I have actually already received so much interest from students who would like to lead this committee, which makes me incredibly proud, and I feel like I detected a genuine discrepancy within the things that we initiate. We will also...
We're a bit on a time crunch, so for moving forward, we're just gonna need you to answer the exact question. So the question was based on what is the most pressing matter. So you focus on food insecurity, so we're gonna move on to that. And then for just while chiming in now, we're gonna allow more room for you guys to rebut. So we'll just let you know when enough is done there. But just for food, as we continue on, let's just keep it limited to the question that's there.
I feel like one of the most pressing matters at Johns is the student body not voicing their concerns. By this I mean is that they do have the ability to voice their concerns obviously to SGi, but I feel like a lot of people just don't. I feel like a lot of students just write to their friends like, oh, they don't like XYZ, instead of actually going to student government directly. And even though we do have like legislative meetings where the student body could come and voice their concerns, I feel like a lot of people just don't go, either because they don't want to or they just don't have time. So like one of my initiatives was to like create a survey in which like that would be like administered to the student body, which would allow them to voice their concerns through the survey, so that they wouldn't necessarily have to always go to the legislative meetings, and that we would like as SGi would be keeping up with the student body's concerns and know directly what is bothering them, so that we could address it directly and try to fix it.
As a commuter student, I know it's extremely hard to get involved in on campus, so I would say our largest problem would be student involvement, which is why we want to work to not only promote current resources of being involved, such as boards that students can join, but we'd also like to expand our ideas. For example, we'd like to have a senior formal, which would help get students involved by planning it and also attending.
Once again, it appears that there's an issue of lack of amplification because SGi does not have to take on the mantle of catering or programming for community students when you already have programming boards like SPB, the Student Programming Board, that dedicates a whole week to catering to students, to catering to community students. Even now, that is still happening, and we've been able to publicize that on our platform on Instagram as well. Besides that, you have whole departments like campus activities that also highlight resources available for commuter students on their Instagram. It should be a task of us amplifying and ensuring that students are aware of what's already accessible to them, instead of bearing that responsibility ourselves and taking away the power and the voice of the programming boards and organizations that are on campus.
Well, of course, we understand that. We don't want to be taking away anyone's voice. We do not only want to promote the resources, but by also expanding them so that students feel comfortable to join in on them and are looking forward to doing things on campus.
Also, may I add, this spring formal wouldn't just be hosted by SGi. We would be reaching out to planning boards because SGi can't simply plan an event. That's why we would have a committee of students planning it so that they're involved. It's for students, by students. And we would reach out to Haraya, SPB, different boards to aid in that.
Okay. Then the last question would be,
Where would that money come from?
Okay, so because we're reaching out to different orgs, that money would be a joint collab between these different orgs and between these different planning boards, which is why we necessarily wouldn't have to allocate money towards it, and we don't see it as something that would cost a lot of money, because all you need for a formula is necessarily a DJ, you need food, you can rent a space on campus. There isn't really much else that you need where it could cost a large amount of money.
Sorry to cut you off, but in regards to where the money would come from, Storm and Loud is a big event. That's the annual event that the school has, and the programming boards already contribute a lot of their allocated budget towards that. And then smaller orgs as well, they go to special allocations as their budget isn't enough for them to host the events that they would like to host. How would you convince these smaller organizations as well as the programming boards to cut down on their events to now contribute to the Cedar Forum that wouldn't cater to the entire population and just the seniors?
Okay, well, I don't think it would be cutting down on the amount of events that they're doing necessarily. I think all the clubs or different orgs on campus are interested in doing things for their outgoing seniors. You want to honor them, you want to thank them for the time that they've given to your club and served on your organization. And I know I want to do this right now with my outgoing seniors, so I don't think it's a matter of convincing. I honestly believe that it's a community, and St. John's is a community, and we would, as the people, want to do something for our community. And I don't see it planning other events on campus. This is not something that would cost $10,000. I feel like at most we may push it at like $3,000.
We allocate about like $21,000 or something around that arena for fashion shows and programming done by MSA and such. So something that I wanted to ask you, you essentially stated that you were going to raise budgets and then you're going to ask them to contribute towards the SGi again to support them kind of events. So isn't that a little bit counterintuitive?
No, we're not asking them to contribute to SGi. When we're asking them, this is the only time we would ever ask boards for money would be for that spring formal, and it would be a collaborative effort. So it wouldn't be something where SGi sits down and tells them this is the exact amount of money that we need. This would be something where we would meet with these different clubs and orgs, we would plan this event out. We would, or they, because SGi wouldn't be picking anything, the people on this committee would choose who they want as their vendors. We would talk about prices, we would choose what's fair, or they would choose what's fair, and in the end, it's really what makes the most sense. So we're not like telling them how much anything costs. This is a collaborative effort.
I'm sorry, we're gonna set the rebuttal here, I'm so sorry guys. But we're gonna move on to the next question. So, this is open to anybody on the floor who would like to answer. Accountability is defined as taking ownership to ensure priorities are achieved. How can students hold you and other SGi members accountable for your actions in office? Let's start with.
I'll take this one. Honestly, just by coming to us and telling us, I always have a thing that I say to myself, like I always want to be challenged. Like I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but every decision I make, if somebody sees a problem, I want to be the type of person who can come to me like, hey, like this was wrong. I feel like I faced that a little bit with, I was part of the org of the committee that really hit me hard because I said something during the meeting, I said something about niche, and it really hit me really hard because I was like, oh my God, these people probably think the worst of me. So I actively reached out to members of people that I talked to and said, hey, like what I could have done better in the situation, how can we do org of the committee better? And they told us instead of doing like 15-minute presentations, we can have it a student-based thing where the students vote. And so that's what I like to take with me if I were to win as vice president, like listening to minds, like listening to what other students say about like, what I could have done better. And also acknowledging it.
I agree with Shirley. I think a very important part of keeping SGi accountable is open communication. We got to make sure that students can trust us and feel like they do trust us because we're here to help them and like help make the community better. And I just feel like if people have concerns, like we should also be held accountable. We aren't like the ultimate authority, even though we're SGI. We also do make mistakes because we're all human. And I feel like as long as people do tell us directly and they're not afraid to, I think that's how we should be accounted for, like by just having heart-to-heart conversations, whether it's through like a forum or just like having people just walk into the SGI office directly. I think it would really help us keep us in check and would help keep ourselves in check as well.
So something that I generally believe in is transparency. So under our ticket, I think it's definitely on our platform. We plan on establishing a podcast where we will essentially be letting the student body know what we're doing, our initiatives, what the administration is saying, what org leaders are saying, which would kind of allow students to know actually what we're doing, if that makes sense. So they would know what we're doing. If we do it wrong, then they will obviously be able to hold us accountable. Apart from that, we also want to do different listening sessions with the SGi board, which is something that we used to do with the Senate forums, which we discontinued for this year, but that's something definitely I want to continue, so that the students can just like come to this room and just speak to the board regarding whatever their concerns and questions are, just to ensure that not only the student senate, but the executive branch is also getting the direct voice of the student body.
Everyone has shared their plans and initiatives for the coming year. Which one of your planned initiatives do you see coming into action sooner than the rest?
I believe all of our food initiatives, those are already planned. So we have already been in contact with administration. We've been working very hard on those. So those are definitely the ones that are going to come to fruition this fastest.
I think the fastest initiative in my case would be the community. So we're like serving the Johns community by increasing collaboration with the student clubs, organizations, and academic departments in order to expand community events, service projects, and volunteering opportunities, as well as fun activities, because I truly feel like the Johns clubs that we do have are very open, and they are open to interpretation and new ideas. And I already listed out a few of my ideas of like what events like I think we should, as a community, take part of. Some of the events that I wrote down was like creating like bonfires where students could like basically roast marshmallows, have camping games, and sing songs, as well as like creating work baskets. Especially this applies to like the ROTC, but like not only ROTC, but like towards our Johns community, towards making work baskets and care packages for soldiers overseas, as well as the less fortunate. I would also try to implement TED Talks and like bring more speakers into Johns community in order to inspire them and help them handle a variety of problems and situations, such as like learning how to manage your money, how to handle taxes, how to handle rejection, how to love yourself, and how to handle yourself in a job/interview, as well as some dangerous situations, especially if you're off campus, as well as try to initiate sport Olympics. I think would be a cool idea. I think we have like a lot of sports on campus, so that would be just like fun to see, and I think it would be like a collective initiative that students would be very happy to take part in.
We are well aware that food insecurity is a major problem, and to address this, we would like to open a food pantry on campus. I've had experience working at food pantries throughout my service, and we plan on doing this by applying for federal, state, and local grants. But while we wait for those funds to come in, we will also look to reach out to community and local donors to help us raise funds that will help run this pantry. This will also expand service opportunities on campus for students and get them involved and create a sense of community here.
So have you heard of the Free Love Store by any chance?
Yes, radical.
Have you communicated with them that you want to start this in order to ensure possible collaboration?
Yes.
So the next question that I have here would be, being that programming boards hold an extremely influential role on student life, coupled by being tasked with planning their own GBM, their main events such as Commuter Week, which we are in the middle of, and have been tasked with developing Storming Loud, which is going on the second year, and are still operating within the same budget that they have now. What are your plans in terms of helping programming boards?
As a senior programming coordinator, I'm actually we are looking into more events in partnership with alumni relations, because that not only expands our budget that we can use for an event, but also helps our students engage in conversations with alumni who can guide them on their future. The second that, again, we mentioned earlier was planning an exciting senior prom or a winter formal event for the members of the graduating class, or commonly known as the COVID batch, which will be the great way to celebrate their accomplishment while they still have time together as classmates.
I'm also going to add by saying that one thing that I've noticed, no offense to, I know you guys are in programming boards, but is that it tends to be that programming boards reach out to the same boards to partner with. So I want to make sure that they also are reaching out to smaller orgs, not just CSA or orgs that are known on campus, but smaller ones to give them opportunities to reach the community on campus to ensure that events are being held that benefit everyone and not just a certain group of people.
I would just try to initiate collaboration between clubs, because I'm just going to be very honest here, I do not know the programming committee, I don't know how they work. So I would just do my best to increase collaboration between clubs in order to help initiate and help get rid of the burden on certain clubs. Because it's better to do events together, because it's a lot easier and people can help each other out.
I'm currently part of a programming board, I'm part of Prior, and I'm also collaborating, and as a member of Prior, I'm also collaborating with the other two programming boards to plan and execute Storm and Out, the festival that's in its second year now. So one of we plan to incorporate student programming boards at the heart of our catering to non-traditional students. So especially as each of these programming boards are supposed to cater to and serve a distinct population in the student community. So for Raya, that is for the students of Pan-African descent, but it's not limited to the students of Pan-African descent. You have RSA, the Residential Students Association, that is catering to students on campus. So in the meanwhile, on the weekends or late on Fridays, they're able to plan and program for events that cater to students so they don't have to travel too far. It's right here on campus. Then you have the student programming board that caters to the entire student population. As well as non-traditional students are able, they have their own identities and affiliation groups that they identify with and position themselves with. I believe, and the whole Crush Ticket believes, that student programming boards are able to serve the non-traditional students in some way or form, and we would actually put them at the center, as well as we put them at the center of our initiatives to incorporate and include non-traditional students in campus involvement, as well as highlight the smaller organizations as well, to just cultivate a community in which non-traditional students are able to be aware that there are these programming boards that are here to serve them, as well as smaller organizations that can do the same thing too. To just give them the option of, this is what we have for you in this community. We believe that you can find a home in each of these boards, as well as the organizations that are on campus. Take your pick, essentially.
As an executive board, how do you plan on maintaining communication between student government and the student body and boosting transparency?
As mentioned before, I do plan on establishing a podcast, which is something I'm really excited about. A lot of universities actually do it, and this is something that the Senate is also incredibly excited about. So it would essentially allow us to moderate it, both of our board members, we would take turns, and we would bring in student leaders so that they can speak about their struggles, what motivates them, what kind of events they hold, talk about that with us so the student body knows what is being offered and what to expect when you become a student leader. Apart from that, we also plan on bringing administration in and ask them those questions that the general student body is too intimidated to ask them. So that is how we kind of plan on mitigating the gap between internal information.
As I mentioned before, I would initiate reading the survey for the student body, which would allow them to voice their concerns because there's not a lot of people attend or Senate or like legislative meetings. And I would also aim to improve transparency within the student government, which would involve like regular communication with the student body regarding the decisions made by the Senate and the executive board, as well as explaining the rationale behind these decisions, as well as the impact that they will have directly on the student body. I would also attempt to engage in more Q&A sessions, whether it's on Instagram or in person or any social media platform, as well as polls and surveys for students to voice their issues. And as well, as press secretary, I would also ensure that our messages are accurately portrayed in the media and that our student government is represented in the best light possible, while also giving the student body transparent and accurate information and holding the student government accountable.
So one thing VIII believes is that transparency is key. Because it just opens honesty and accountability within SGi, and we want to make sure we're bridging SGi and the student body. We want to make sure they're aware of what's going on within SGi. I feel like as a student with these past 3 years, I don't know what's happening. I didn't know we had senators. I didn't know what bills they were passing. And it's something that we need to make sure that our students are aware of what's going on. So we want to make sure that we build a trust with them, and one way we would like to promote transparency between us and the student body is by creating short newsletters. Of course, our students don't have time to read long newsletters, and we don't have time to be viewing things, or we're busy doing homework and everything, and we're part of different organizations. So having short newsletters, especially working closely with the press secretary and using social media to voice what SGi is doing and to make sure our student body is aware of what's happening.
Could I just about that? We actually do have a newsletter going out monthly, which I personally craft, and it goes out to each of the student body beginning of every month. So I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Apart from that, we also do make posts on Instagram as well. So yeah.
I would just like to add, I don't know where these newsletters are available.
They are in your email inbox.
Well, sometimes we don't
It's just
have
a matter
time
of amplification, like she said. It's nothing against someone or.
You're automatically taking that as an attack, but that's not what I was saying. I'm just saying that it is already there and it is very succinct, in my opinion. Actually, the bills are not even in the email. They ask you to go to a link which directs you to the Google Drive where you can find all of the bills that.
Well, I believe we can simplify this in a way as putting it in Instagram posts in order to promote.
We have actually already done that.
Well, maybe amplify our Instagrams, because honestly, I'm not getting the message. Not many of us are getting the message, and I'm listening from other students that we don't really know what's happening. So that's just one of our concerns that we have, and it's something we want to express. But yes, we would like to amplify our newsletters and make them shorter for our students to understand what's happening, for that our students have enough time to just quickly read them.
I am just gonna reiterate again, it is pretty succinct, and we do do that on Instagram. Plus, like, if you just follow and turn on the notification, I believe that you would get notified about all of these things. And it's also about, have you tried seeking these things? If you are curious about something, and you seek it, find it. And it's all right there at SGi.
I like that on. Even if you amplify it, like, people will read it unless they want to. So I even think if you amplify it, again, like, people are gonna want to read it. I mean, even talk about happened. Like, I don't take it personally that people don't know if I wrote the bill or not. I'm just happy that it's there. You know what I mean? So even if you amplify something, you need the audience. You need that audience that wants to read it. You know what I mean?
So speaking of audience, how do you aim to get your audience to listen to podcasts? Because I'm not sure how many people actually listen to podcasts.
So that is actually something that we have spoken to the student body before, and we have brought out the idea, and everybody really enjoyed it. The student government is actually currently, what's it called? They are investing in this screen that will go like right outside of our office, where like it would show up there. And apart from that, we could also be working very closely with Red TV and such. We've spoken to other organizations as well that would love to collaborate, and they want to reach a vast audience, and they would be promoting it on their Instagrams as well. So it is a collaborative situation and not just being centrally advertised by ministry, if that makes sense. And we also are going to be working on the website much more, so that is also going to be available there.
Can I ask something as well? How are you gonna get your audience? Because with the bar, like how are you gonna get your audience to do it when have you started playing on it, or have you talked to admin about it? Because it was your idea, right?
Yeah. Well, we do plan on having it as a pop-up bar, so it won't have a physical location, and we will most likely have it on game days, so it increases school involvement and networking with alum.
Perfect. Because I was, Father Shanley came into a meeting and actually proposed this idea, and I think all of us were at this meeting except your ticket and Cynthia was out there, but Father Shanley actually had this idea and basically stated that it was an idea, but it wasn't really going to come soon, so that's why I was a little confused why you said it was your idea, and on top of it, our publicizing that you're going to get it back, because there's no shot that you get it back within the next year.
So actually, currently at the games, basketball games, they started selling alcohol. So it wouldn't be us bringing it to life on campus because it already happens. We just want to create another source that's not just being sold at Carnegie Sepa. So for instance, if we had like Storming Loud, alumni is going to be there. It would be nice to have like a carts like on wheels that has like a little bar where alumni are allowed to buy like seltzers. It wouldn't be hard alcohol like whiskey or anything like that. So we know that we aren't necessarily building a bar. This already happens on campus. Alcohol is already sold on campus during games. So we are just adding to it in a way that will bring back alumni, because we know that like that's a way to connect students to alumni. And alumni don't want to come here and not have fun and alcohol. Yeah.
Exactly.
We're gonna just stop it here.
I think this needs to be concluded. I apologize, but could we please request some more time to do like this?
No, we're gonna move on to the next question. So the next question that we have is, student engagement is a hot topic across campus. What 3 resources would your ticket advocate for support for various student groups? Student engagement is a hot topic across campus. What 3 resources would your ticket endorse or advocate for students to access across campus?
I'm sorry, I'm just gonna need to repeat it one more time.
Essentially, what 3 resources would you advocate for students that would add to student success across campus that already exist on St.
One of the resources would be campus activities. Campus activities is the department that's created to serve, that's created to essentially help manage the student groups that are on campus. Highlighting campus activities as a resource allows residential and community students alike to find a place and a community on campus within actual campus communities. Amplifying them is they do produce newsletter support, they do help and assist in developing student leaders on campus, as well as helping to promote the plethora of events that student organizations do plan. So that's a very big resource that is underutilized here, and the Crush Ticket will work to ensure that their initiatives such as Studio C, so students can display their talents, are highlighted, as well as Let's Chat, a place where an informative series of events that allow students to learn about cryptocurrency, trading, real estate, investing, betting, even sports betting, and informing the students about the real life essentially and how to handle their finances. So amplifying campus activities as a resource would be one of the biggest things. The second resource would be the second resource would be would have to be
So the second thing that we would like to emphasize on is, again, food insecurity. You cannot succeed in your academic life if you are hungry. So I think that that is definitely something that we are tackling very well in terms of the stuff, whether it be diversifying food at Monty's, whether it be establish halal food, or establishing the SGi Shares program, which would allow for donations. In terms of food, apart from that, I think we also need to focus on organizations, which is something that we have focused here. We would like to provide more support for them. For example, Canva Pro is something that we're bringing subscriptions for Canva in terms of Canva Pro for student organizations. That is something that would allow organizations to create more lucrative promotional materials, which would kind of like bring in students, and they could see all those assets and like opportunities that different organizations are offering. So I think that that is definitely part of that.
I think what Cynthia and Asha had to say was pretty great. Definitely agree with what Cynthia said with campus activities. I think that is a very good resource to have on campus and where students go with. But I would also try to implement campus ministry in order to like increase volunteering events. But most importantly, I would try to gear students towards our counseling services. I think mental health, like in general, like for the student body, is very problematic. I see people are very like depressed or stressed about their classes, which will hinder their ability and like excelling in their classes, excelling in internships, excelling like mental health has such a huge impact within our lives, and like not just academically, but also in our personal lives. So I would definitely try to make people aware of our counseling services, because like not a lot of people are aware. I wasn't even aware about it like until a year ago until my DOI teacher told me about it. So yeah, that's what I would
So what three resources on campus should you advocate to students for success?
So one resource that I would like to advocate for students as a resource is the Career Center. I feel like a lot of students don't use it. Like for example, I know people that didn't know that at the Career Center they can get help with their resumes, and instead they go to like the Writing Center when that's not what the Writing Center does. So that would be something that I feel like students need to know more about. Also, the Career Center opened a career closet that a lot of students didn't know about, where professional clothes are donated and students can go into interviews and jobs feeling prepped and feeling comfortable and knowing that they're prepared and have all the tools necessary. There are also career tiers within the Career Center. Once again, a lot of students aren't aware of this. So I feel like the Career Center is one initiative on campus that more people need to know about.
Well, first thing I thought about was the Rise Mentor Program, which is a resource center. A lot of children, a lot of students know about the Rise Mentor Program, but they
at this time, we'd like to ask the audience if you guys have any questions for the candidates running for SGi. Don't be scared. Ask a question.
Yes, question.
Sure. To the presidential candidates, what draws you to being a leader in general?
So I think believe it is about inspiring other leaders as well. I think it is really important to promote compassion and such. I think that's something that drives me to be a student leader on campus is my fellow student leaders, and I see all that they accomplish and all the people that they inspire and all the good that they do. And I think that that is my main motivating factor.
Throughout my life, I've always held leadership positions in various different areas. I always felt it was a way of giving back, and that's something that's very important to me. I like to serve my community, and so if I can do that in any way possible, that's what I'm going to do.
A big point of your platform seems to be bringing up the pop-up bar to events on the university. With the administration already positioning itself that they wouldn't want to allow it, do you really think that it would be beneficial to keep bringing it up? And further, would you believe that it's actually something that St. John's University really needs?
Well, we have seen evidence of it working on other campuses, such as Providence College. But it does provide professional networking because we will be asking alum to come back and meeting with current students, and this will allow them to create a connection with them and potentially looking for internships or jobs.
I also would add for I think it is in a way possible because it's not, St. John's stance isn't that they're completely against alcohol. Like for instance, in the finance program, there's an annual reception held where alumni are welcome and alcohol is served there to teachers and alumni, and it is regulated so that current students who are under 21 aren't the ones getting the drinks. So I don't think the reason that we brought it up is that it's already here on campus. Like we're not strictly against alcohol, and the way that we're doing it is not that we're building a permanent bar where students can just walk in and kind of buy alcohol. It would strictly be when there is an event on campus.
And this is only one of our ideas. We have many.
Thank you.
I have a question for the senior programmers that are potentially running. How do you plan on fundraising for the senior scholarship, and how do you plan on making it more accessible to more seniors?
A big thing that happens with fundraising is that a lot of students don't know about it, so one thing is to promote it across campus. One thing that I think seniors would like, which I think we did last year, is exclusive senior merch. So I know last year they did an image that had to do with the diner, which was a big thing for that senior class for the graduating class of 2024. We'll work around different ideas. I know we're the class deprived of the red carpet welcome, so maybe I'll have to do something with that in the lines possibly if I do step into the position. Fundraising goes across everyone on campus. It's not just for seniors by seniors. So I think events that integrate alumni, working with seniors and whatnot, whether it's dinners, auctions, or anything event on campus that incorporate alumni. Johnny's love to help Johnny's, that's something we say, even in the ambassador program on tours. So I think those are events and ideas that will help increase the pool of scholarships. And then further on, we might working with administration will help students, help us open the pool of students that receive those scholarships. So I know sometimes pharmacy students can't receive it because they're here for 6 years versus students who graduated for. Working with admin to open that pool so everyone gets rewarded in some way, shape, or form is something that I'm really excited to work towards.
I think for me, I agree with her initiative since mine underlie them or are somehow include them. As I said, I work with the Office of Alumni Relations, and I know the events that they have with, say, the gold events, which is graduate of the last decade, so the recent 10 years alumni, and even the older ones. So when they meet for games or many events, they basically fundraise money for going towards particular scholarship. So if I somehow manage to basically work with them, we can find a way to make it a form of senior scholarship under the donor's name. So that would basically bring in more money to the university. Not to mention the merch idea that our seniors did last year. We were thinking of bringing in the sweaters since people are more inclined towards that. And not to mention every senior every person who buys that basically contributes to the senior scholarship fund, and continues their legacy stepping out of St. John's?
I have a question for the robotics ticket. So what makes you guys feel like you guys have a substantial knowledge to run an official corporation, knowing that it has gone under significant restructuring? I know that two of your members currently were in SGi or are in SGi, but one of them just held the chair and the other one was in SGi and isn't like currently active. So but with knowing that Senator was holding a part before the restructuring of SGi, what to the rest of your ticket feel like you guys can handle the restructuring of SGi to move forward to become successful?
I feel like we don't necessarily need to have been a senator to run for SGi. SGi is open to all undergraduate students, and all of us have proven that we have been active on campus. I'm president of an org, so we know what it takes to run an org. We know what goes into it. We have the commitment to make it work. So as long as we're qualified in our day-to-day lives, I don't think it's necessary to have been on an SGi board to run for SGi.
We do understand that we are outsiders coming in, but we believe that this will be a unique outlook and that we can bring some different changes.
I would also like to add on, SGi is not, it's not something we're excluded. Like Chrissy said, we all have leadership positions, and also, just trying to diversify SGi, and it's something that it's a learning process. It's okay that you don't really know anything about SGi, or if you do know, that's great. But at the end of the day, we all learn together, and as a team, we work together to make things happen. And we all have leadership positions, so I think that's something of us for us too.
I also think it sends the wrong message if we're saying that only people who were senators before can run for SGi, because what about people who weren't, who didn't have that interest the year before, who didn't think that they were qualified for it? So, yeah.
I could rebut that a little bit. Rachel is a senator herself as well, but student government is not an organization, it is a sponsor. You can't really run it like an organization, especially with the recent restructuring of the Senate. There are many nitty-gritty and like different aspects of it that you're gonna have to learn as an equal. And like you said, you are definitely open to learn those as well. However, something that needs to be addressed is the fact that it takes such a long time to get acclimated within the executive board. For example, within our executive board right now, we have a mix of people from within the SGi who have had previous experience versus people who aren't as and weren't as involved in the SGi, and it's like quite you do feel that struggle in terms of fitting in, and I feel like the reason why we were able to succeed is because we had people who were involved within the SGi to mitigate that gap, that basically helped out each of the members that were outside of the SGi to kind of acclimate. So I guess to go back to Rachel's point, I think that is what she was trying to get at, because you do need some sort of starting point to go off.
To add on to that, I just wanted to acknowledge, Krista, you did mention that you are president of a small org, and I think a few of you are all involved in a smaller org. SGi is a home to a lot of students. This university has 15,000 undergraduate students. As a member, along with Jenny Basilla, we run a large program with two other lovely ladies who cater to prospective students. We have over 100 members in our department. We're not even a program. And we host events at least 3 times a year that cater to thousands of prospective students at St. John's. We know how to handle a large group of people. We know how to cater. We know how to listen. We're immersed to such a diverse panel of students from all across the world. We have heard their concerns. How many times have we been pulled aside after a tour asking, are there kids that look like me here? We're allowed to share our stories. We're allowed to cater to that audience. Anytime we're asked what's one thing we would change at St. John's, I'm proud to say the food options, but we're in the midst of doing it, so I have no actual answer for you. that's a problem. I agree 100%. You do not have to be involved in SGi to be active on campus. I agree you don't need to be a senator. There's no exclusivity here. But it's knowing how to operate such a large wave of people. We train 50, 60 kids a semester, and being one of them, pull out wanting to be one of them at one point. And it's a large wave of people to be responsible for. Senate alone is 40 people, along with the committee and assistant chairs. It's a lot of people to be responsible for, and being their open home. You want your office open to be listening to all those students. It's a lot of kids, a lot of concerns, and that's one thing that we're equipped to listen to in there. And I understand that you have a small org and you love each and every one of your members, but numbers aren't matching. Student government is home to everyone, and I know that you know.
I think it's possible.
It's not impossible. It's being equipped with the proper tools in your toolbox. You've been exposed to over 1,000 students in one day.
So I feel like the same tools that you have running a larger org, I also possess. Because I'm a mentor on top of running an org, on top of being secretary of another org. So I also have those same skills. I feel like just because my org is smaller doesn't mean I don't possess those same skills.
I wasn't questioning your ability. I just wanted to clear that up. I wasn't questioning your ability.
Oh no, I know.
I respect your org and I think you've run an amazing show, but it's a matter of being, I myself have been overwhelmed with open houses. We're having our 160 ambassadors behind us plus 1,000 students in front of us. It's a lot. We get overwhelmed, but that's something we've managed as a group and as leaders. I go to Jenny and we know how to navigate this entire show. And it's something that a lot of people some people can't handle. I'm not saying you can't handle it or I believe that we're all such well-rounded people. From the bottom of my heart, there's no other reason why we all be up here. But it's a matter of being able to handle such experience and whatnot. And we have we've been through it and back. So we're ready for that.
Any other questions?
Hi, my name is Julie, and I'm currently on the executive board of Orion. I'm a prospective member of hopefully top board of Orion. And I actually have a question for the president of the question. So I wanted to know, like, how you guys go about creating kind of like a open, safe space with respect to executive boards and stuff like that. Even just like building a professional, maybe formal, maybe informal, comfortable relationship with the top board. Because of course you're gonna be kind of like head, you're not gonna do everything, but also but even with respect to, because I feel like with past presidents you had, I think it's been a lot easier to communicate with them. Because even sitting here for maybe the past 45 minutes, I feel like I've seen you roll your eyes, different body languages and stuff like that. With respect to like reactions and things that maybe happen one way. I mean, we're all students, we're a professional here, but I just want to know because I think even as somebody who maybe in a tough position next semester, like if you're somebody that I'll be constantly communicating with, how are we going to go about building a comfortable space where I can actually come speak to you about things? You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think this is a matter of me rolling the eyes into their ticket rather than regarding the moderation, I would say, because I have ran before, as I think most of us know. And due to the, I would say, the rebuttal and apart from that, we just aren't being allowed to express ourselves, I guess. Like we get cut off every single time we have rebuttal or like we have a good point to make, so that's a little frustrating, especially as someone who has gone through these debates before that have been structured completely differently, so I apologize. But I think that we're not essentially being allowed to make the point right before we do, we're being cut off, which I personally do not think is fair. And yes, as much as we can share regards to that.
I can that up just because like when just sitting there, I feel like you're boiling up. It was just
I'm an anxious human being, I apologize, and I might appear a little jittery and it's because of that, and I sincerely apologize for taking offense to that, but it's nothing against anyone, it is just, yes, absolutely.
I like that on. Look, like right in this situation, it's a tense situation for both tickets. But in general, I can speak from experience. I was not a friend of Nasim before coming into this ticket, but after like getting to know her, she's very passionate and strongly she does what she says. And I think that's the best thing you could do as a president. You do what you say. And she's a born leader with the Speaker of the Senate. That's how I got my taco bill done. That's how I'm going to get my law food bill done. And that's how I'm getting my Monty's diversity food bill done. So this is just a tense situation, but in general, I don't think that reflects how good of a leader she is.
For the secretary candidates in the room, what are the personal organizational skills? Like, give an example that you've done before that would qualify you for this role.
So I was part of Vogue during my time here, and one of the issues we had actually was communicating with Dr. Sama. I wasn't the team liaison at the time in the finance and risk assessment team, and so we weren't being very productive in our team because we were missing that communication. I decided to step it up, and I was like, we need to start communicating with Dr. Sama. We need to start, ensuring that these borrowers for the microloans are, receiving their loans. So I decided to step it up, and we decided our productivity started to flow more. And because of the leadership skills I presented during my time in Globe, I was promoted to be the team liaison. And that's one of the leadership skills I had to communicate and maintain that communication between Dr. Sama and myself. I know it's a small role, it's not something big compared to other people here that might have a bigger role. But I also had leadership skills as an orientation leader. I had to maintain a big group of kids and take them around campus and make sure I don't lose them. So, yeah.
As someone that was also a part of Globe that semester, I can say that Emily did a fantastic job stepping into her position. I would say that she did absolutely beautifully. But when it goes for myself, as a part of the executive board as the student ambassador program with the current tour coordinator as the vice president-elect, I think it's very understood between all the roles within the organizations that I've been involved in that communication is beyond important. I'm the current secretary of the budget committee, and just being able to accurately take notes, I'm still looking back on notes that I took in October, just make sure that the numbers are added up and making sure that all of the receipts are where it's supposed to be. We have people attending these events to make sure that the money is being spent where it's supposed to be. So I would say my overall organizational skills as well as leadership skills just throughout the positions that I've been holding makes me feel. Any more questions? One more.
So this is a question for Josh Side. So you guys speak about how you're planning on expanding food options. I'm just curious about how exactly are you guys going to go about this? Can you explain?
All right, I'm a food guy, man. Great question. So, like I said, first semester I was a senator. I really wanted to bring back food options because, like I said, I'm a big food guy. My group of guys are like, dude, you call yourself a senator, but you can't even bring back more food options. So I was like, took that personally. So that's how I got Taco Bill. A lot of admin, a lot of open forums. I had to ask a lot to do that. It wasn't just one bill. It was a bunch of people too. Emma Kawali also helped write the bill. Ashley Cho also was there. I mean, it takes a lot of people to do something. But I had to go to a lot of meetings. And I think after that, I kind of just started rolling. I was like, let's see how many more food options I can get here. Because DAC is so, before our times, seniors could say, oh my gosh, that's the place to be and all that with so many food options. And I'm trying to get that back. Right now, Taco Bell, I couldn't do another, let's say I couldn't put halal food back in near Taco Bell because they have to see if it's doing well, and they don't have. Right now, the biggest problem was hiring more people. So that's why I had the idea to take out Piccola Italia and put in something new like halal food that would be diverse and something new. A lot of people have told me, my friends too, they're really excited about it. I already talked to admin about it. They're on board with it. I already passed the bill. We're doing works in that again. So it looks like, we're starting to roll, and I love it. It's really exciting to be a Johnny now, I feel. So that's more diversification, but in the future, I'm to see if Taco Bell is doing well, because then we can start doing a lot more stuff with the basement and even more food options. For now, I'm just in the moment to do it right away, where people can see they're actually going to work and trying their best to diversify the food we have. That's why I'm also trying to put in more food options at late night because I go there all the time and I get the same burger every time. But I mean, they're slowly doing it, and it's little by little. You can't do big steps without the little steps, and we're going in the right direction. I've shown the results through Taco Bell, and it's going to be all hopefully in the fall semester. But yeah.
Is that okay? I know you asked about you said you're working towards putting more food in Monty's, like different options, which I think is a great idea. The only question I have with that is, I recently found out that the reason there aren't, some of the stalls are empty is because of food waste, and I think we still have that issue. So I just would want to know how you would, work on that while also having those options.
Well, right now you gotta take one step at a time, like I said. So with adding more food, no matter how, at Monty's anyway, there will be food waste because not everyone eats everything at Monty's. So it's kind of like, either way, even if we add, let's say for people that have dietary restrictions, if you add a couple plates, maybe of rice and chicken, I don't think it's that much of the food waste we have now at late night Monty's compared to if we add chicken and rice and maybe vegetables and a salad. I don't think that's that big of a difference between the food waste.
To add on to that, recently a bill in the Senate was passed regarding efficiently and effectively composting leftover food and reducing plastic utensils, cup, and bag use. This is something that is already being worked on by Senator Jessica Prasad. So we're definitely taking initiatives on both sides.
I just didn't know these initiatives.
Any more questions?
So this is for the Revive ticket, and specifically the secretary, but also anyone's free to answer. It was a little bit concerning before that you didn't understand that we had already an SGi email that was sent out that kind of had a list of all the bills that were created. Are you guys working on familiarizing yourselves with what was already initiated at SGi, any old bills? Because you guys said that you have the experience, but have you been looking at past SGi bills or initiatives just to familiarize yourself to get ready for this possible position that you guys are going to hold?
I would say yes. I'm going to be honest, the first email I got from SGi was last month. So that is why we were all confused. We have talked among ourselves and we haven't seen these emails, which is why we're where are they being sent out? So I can go back and check it, but I will work on it. I am. So.
Of course, we do want to apologize for our misspeaking. We do have a very large influx of emails, so sometimes things do get lost. We will plan on familiarizing ourselves with current bills and past bills that have been passed.
I already was part of SGi my freshman and sophomore year. The reason I couldn't be during my junior year was only because I had class at the exact same time. And I reached out to the secretary of current SGi too for discussing that. But I think I have been staying in contact with the things that have been passed, the bills that are being passed in SGi, because my roommate is currently in SGi. And her interest in SGi aroused only because I was super involved in SGi, and the initiatives that I talked about in the meetings, I would go and share it with her. And she is doing the exact thing right now. So even when I'm not a part of the Senate during the current year, I still know what all is happening in SGi.
I think we're going to move forward to the closing statements. Let's start with
So first, I'd like to thank the Crush Ticket. I believe that all of the members are well qualified for their positions in which they are running for. I'd also like to thank the moderators for taking time to be here and moderate for us. And lastly, I'd like to thank the audience. I appreciate you coming and taking time out of your business days to listen to us. We, as a ticket, do believe that we have great ideas that will move St. John's further. We plan to revive the school spirit with us, with a agenda that is centered around our students. So again, thank you, and we hope to earn your vote.
just wanted to say thank you for everyone for hearing me out. Personally, I came very nervous into this debate. I don't know, is that going to hinder me? Is this question going to hinder me or not? But I think it was like a very wonderful and essential experience to go through. And I truly believe that such vulnerability and such honesty is essential to not only student government and its media platforms, but also to myself. I believe it does take a lot of strength to be up here because I'm running against two amazing tickets. These are very great, powerful, and qualified individuals that I deeply do look up to. They do inspire me. They're great friends, at least some of them. But they're amazing too. I literally just met some of these people today, but they're amazing. They're amazing. That came out wrong. But then I also just wanted to say that coming up here independently, it was really scary, but I think it was a very great testament to the amount of bravery I have and the amount of gutsiness I do have, and I think these are key traits in being a press secretary and exactly what the school needs, because it is always important to put yourself out there. And I also believe I am a fighter. I'm a believer in my dreams and my potential, but most of all, I do believe in the potential of our Johnsies community and how I and SGi in general can make Johnsies even more wonderful. And lastly, I'm so sorry for talking so much, but lastly, I just wanted to ask, I just wanted to say in general, thank you. And before I give it off to an auction, I just wanted to ask for all of you to not vote, not solely for a particular ticket, but for you to critically analyze each candidate's strengths and weaknesses and what they bring to the table. I feel like we are surrounded by great potential leaders, and everyone has something very unique and something very special to offer. And I know that people are very, very excited rooting for Crush and Revive, but I also just wanted to put it out there that I do have a big heart, I do have big dreams, and I really hope that you guys take that into consideration. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
So, as evidenced by the debate, the Crush ticket is committed to relentlessly and at times a little too passionately advocating for student needs, ultimately uniting the entirety of the student body with a sincere and humble approach. The Crush ticket has planned many feasible and beneficial initiatives for the student body, and a few of our notable initiatives include establishing the SGi Shares program in order to aid in eradicating food insecurity on campus, diversifying food options by bringing halal food on campus, starting a podcast which allows for increased transparency between the student body, organization leaders, and administration, further aiding period poverty by diversifying the kind of menstrual products that are made available through the Flow Committee under the SGi, ensuring representation for non-traditional students such as transfer students, grad students, international students, and commuter students, ensuring representation for disabled students, ensuring representation for students belonging to the LGBTQ+ community, and ensuring representation and well-being of the students transferring from Staten Island campus. We have already taken necessary steps towards materializing most of our initiatives, and these are only a few of the initiatives we have planned as a team. After diligently serving the SGi for 2 years now, I stand before you and request that you make a responsible choice for voting for your next executive board. Our platform and previous accomplishments and experiences, all within, outside, and within SGi, speak for themselves. I request that all of you Johnnies practice your right to vote and ensure that your voices are heard and ensure that the future leaders of the Student Government Incorporated are taken care of. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. We thank all of you guys for taking the courage, as Claudia said. I know that sitting up there is not easy. Getting a bunch of questions held at you is not an easy task. But I definitely do think that you guys answered the best of your capability. And as the future president of Pariah next year, I look forward to potentially working with one of you guys.